First of all, I would like to welcome you in this Physiosophics. I call this podcast, I call it Physiosophics. And I want to present you. You're a physiotherapist in musculoskeletal outpatient rehabilitation, as we told. And you're a PhD candidate and lab manager of the Spinal Research Laboratory in Tel Aviv University, right?
Yes.
And your thesis or your topic in PhD is about pain?
No, my PhD is about computer vision, machine learning on X-rays, CTs, and stuff like that. It's not related, but well, again, as the manager of the Spinal Research Laboratory, I need to know my stuff on pain because we deal with it all the time in our studies and our ongoing researches. So, but then again, I think I began reading pain literature even before I started studying physiotherapy. So I've been reading pain literature now for over almost 25 years. I've been reading and studying about it, and I also kind of like it's like not really straightforward, but like I have a lot of background in philosophy, and I studied a lot of philosophy as a kid. I was always intrigued by it, and I read a lot of philosophical essays. And pain is is a recurrent theme in philosophy. So I kind of like, well, I can kind of like always been dealing with pain, like somehow. Also through my hobbies, like I'm a skateboarder, and skateboarding is a very dangerous sport, and you get injured a lot. So I also kind of know pain.
So you had a lot of nociception in your life, eh?
Yeah, somehow, yeah. But yeah, my PhD is related to more to spine than actual pain. But I published quite a few papers on pain theory and on that topic, yeah.
Okay, so I would like to start by taking a quote I heard I read from you, the changes of the function of the epigenetics. So what can change the function of epigenetics and make it dysfunctional?
Okay, yeah, well, for those who don't know, then I speak a lot about the importance of epigenetic switches in the process of chronic pain. I no longer hold a position that chronic pain can occur without any biological, genetic, and nociceptive substrates. I truly believe that it's not a matter of belief, it's a matter of weighing the evidence. And the more you weigh the evidence, you come to the realization that nociception is a ubiquitous, for those who don't know what ubiquitous is like it's omnipresent physiological process that is just always there, okay? Like you cannot have pain without having some sort of nociception going on. Now, you asked me about epigenetics, and I talk a lot about the importance of epigenetics in regulating some of our nociceptive circuits or nociceptive pathways. Now, first we have to understand what is epigenetics. So our genetics, there's a really simple analogy for that. Like our genetics, our DNA is like a CD player. It's like the CD player contains the music, like the instructions for the music, and the CD player, which is the epigenome, it plays the song. It transfers, like it decodes the messages in the CD, and it processes them into output, like that we hear through for the speakers, okay? So this is our epigenome. It causes genes to express themselves. Now, we discovered Watson and Crick, they discovered the epigenome in the 1950s, and I think that was like the first breakthrough of genetics, and now we're on a second wave of breakthrough in epigenetics, realizing the importance of the expression of those genes. Okay, and like if you start looking at the pain literature from the last 20 years, like the epigenetic breakthrough is like, I'm talking about like the last 20, 30 years, okay? So Watson and Crick were in the 1950s, and the second revolution of genetics, which is the epigenetic revolution, started about 30 years ago. That's quite recent, that's quite new. And like if you look at the pain literature in the last 20 years, you can see that we started realizing that we can have this epigenome, we can have dysfunctional epigenetic switching. Like what the epigenome does is it's a group of molecules that they attach themselves to the DNA, and they make the DNA express a certain quality, which we eventually see as and call it a phenotype. Like, okay, and we started realizing that a lot of chronic pain states have some sort of dysfunctional epigenetic expression. Okay, now again, like the epigenome can be influenced by many factors. Like it can be affected by chemicals that we're exposed to, like the air we breathe, the food we eat, and even psychological stressors. Like they can open a cascade of like a downward cascade. Like we perceive something as stressful, and it can open a downward cascade that reaches all the way down to our molecular level of the epigenome, and can affect this epigenome and affect the way it functions, and can cause a dysfunction. So what we see, for example, there is very good evidence that people with fibromyalgia, for example, like they started finding evidence that people with fibromyalgia tend to have some sort of dysfunctional epigenetic switching. Like for some reason, their epigenome fails, and it continues to activate certain genes which are expressed. And those genes, when they are expressed, one of their expression is widespread pain. Okay, widespread. Well, it's more accurate to say widespread nociceptive sensitization. Okay.
Is it the pain that travels around the body with no apparent reason?
Yeah, and for example, a good modeling of this pain is people can feel it when they have the flu. Okay, we have this widespread, like people who have the flu tend to have this widespread pain, like they feel like muscle pain all over the body. So that's a good model for what people with fibromyalgia tend to feel all the time. Like it's like this ongoing influenza symptom that keeps on going. And this is like there is very good evidence that somehow their epigenetic switches, they just for some reason continue to manifest and express this quality. Now, why does it happen in certain people? The answer is not epigenetics, but genetics. Okay. Now, they have a predisposition. Those individuals with a fibromyalgia, they have a predisposition for having those epigenetic switches failing. It's just unfortunate. It's just bad luck. Okay, it's like, why do some people get certain kind of cancers? And sometimes you can have like smokers who can like people who smoke 3 packets of cigarettes, like, and they die at age 100 and they never had any cancer. Like, the answer is it's a genetic tendency. Okay, so most people have a genetic tendency to get lung cancer from smoking cigarettes, but some people don't. Right. And some people have a predisposition of having this genome expressed under certain kind of conditions. They have this tendency. So unfortunately, it's a genetic problem with also an epigenetic problem. It's just bad luck, okay?
So in these patients, is there any hope for them? And what is the treatment for them?
Oh, yes, there is hope for people with fibromyalgia. I don't think it's going to happen in the next 10, 20, 30 years, but for sure in 30, 40 years, we're going to have very good treatments for them. Because once they started realizing those processes, those epigenetic switches, like, it's like, for example, you've got like the electricity switch, okay? You turn the light on. For some reason, with these people, the light it gets turned on, okay? And this sends a cascade of like a molecular cascade of signaling to the immune system, which gets hyperactive and keeps on doing stuff which is not supposed to be doing anymore.
For the moment, what is the better proposed treatment for these people that we don't have the genetic treatment? I heard you, the other podcast, you were talking about the genetic treatment. Probably you're talking about the genetic treatment. What about nowadays?
Nowadays, okay. There is, first of all, physical activity. They need to be physically active, but they need to be they need to start at a very low level. People with fibromyalgia, like you have to treat them like they are totally out of shape. That's how you have to treat them. Like if they come and they are not, some of them are physically active. You can have some people with fibromyalgia, like they accept it and they go on with their life. But those who come to us, they're like, for example, I work in an outpatient clinic, and in Israel, the healthcare system is free. So we might get a lot of people who are inactive and people who have tried many other therapies and nothing helped them. And when they are not physically active, I treat them like they are totally out of shape. I start from zero. Like I will put them on the bicycle the first time for like maximum 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I will add like a minute every time, and I will build it really, really, really slowly. Okay, because like there is a lot of evidence and a lot of anecdotes and a lot of case studies that if you do too much for someone with fibromyalgia, it's like it sends them into a flare-up, and that's not good. So we have to treat them like really lightly, and I think there's also some not very good evidence, but some evidence that probably changing the diet or adding some fasting, some controlled fasting, and changing the diet. There's some evidence. I wouldn't say like very high quality evidence, but like it's worth considering adding that. And of course, if they're overweight and smoking, they should try to reduce their weight, and they also should stop smoking, because again, smoking is a very bad. It's very bad, and it upsets our epigenome quite a lot. Okay, and also obesity. Obesity is linked to many ongoing inflammatory processes which can eventually also affect like those epigenetic switching and responses. So there are ways to deal with fibromyalgia. They are not optimal. Well, it's okay. We can probably help them. We can probably alleviate their pain a bit. Mm-hmm. We cannot yet cure them, but I believe that within 30, 40 years, we will be able to cure them, because there's a huge advancement in what's called biological treatments. Biological treatments are utilizing the patient's own immune system and own epigenetic switching and reactions. And I believe that within 20, 30 years, like you will be able to come to your family physician and you will come to him and he will do like a swab, a DNA swab from your cheek and put it in a machine in his office. And he will be able to order specialized drugs for you, designed specifically for your genetic makeup. And those drugs will target the exact specific mechanisms that keep recurring in those patients, and not only that, in many different pathologies and stuff like that. Like those biological treatments are already they're already existing, and they've revolutionized some aspects of care. For example, I don't know, do you still see patients with rheumatoid arthritis in your practice? Because I don't see them anymore.
Not so many.
Yeah, why do we not see them anymore? Because the biological treatments are very good in controlling the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. And in Israel, even though we have a free healthcare system, I haven't seen an RA patient in like, I think, 8 years now.
Yeah, okay? We also don't see them so often.
Yeah, because they have very good biological treatments nowadays that they're quite good. And someone I know, a doctor that I know, he published in Cell a few months ago his work. Again, it's a revolutionary work on ovarian cancer. They were able, like with the biological treatment, they were able to cause the cancer to wrap itself up with some sort of a coating that attracts the immune system to attack it. Okay, so so like it's like they insert this agent that like utilizes the cancer's own mechanisms to replicate some sort of a blanket on itself, and the immune system attacks this blanket, and eventually it helps the cancer. It helps, just the cancer goes into remission. That's quite impressive. So, but then again, cancer and rheumatoid arthritis are a bit different from fibromyalgia, but because fibromyalgia is a lot more molecular. It's on a lot smaller scale than cancer, but eventually those treatments will get better and better, and within 30 years I'm almost sure we will have a cure for fibromyalgia.
What do the doctors use in Israel at the moment for medication against the fibromyalgia? Is it like gabapentin? Because here we see a lot of people prescribing
all kinds of stuff, like anything you can imagine, opioids, gabapentin, NSAIDs, all these sort of things.
Same stuff.
But then again, it's just like temporary pain control. It's nothing that can help them. But again, like exercising, weight loss, and smoking cessations are all good things to consider that can help those people on the long term. It's good solutions. They're not optimal, but they're good.
Yeah.
So, for example, like if I have like a lot of, if I see, and you do tend to see that a lot of people with fibromyalgia have a very high BMI, like their BMI is quite high and they're overweight. So I started now recommending those patients to go and get semaglutide. Have you heard about semaglutide?
No.
Ozempic?
No.
It's a wonderful drug that was designed for diabetics that helps you to lose weight.
Okay.
It's an excellent drug.
Liraglutide.
Liraglutide, semaglutide.
Yes, I know this.
Okay. So if I see they are overweight, I tell them to go to the doctor and ask him to give you Ozempic or semaglutide. It's called. There are two names. That's a good that's a good option also, because once they start losing weight, they will the flare-ups will be a lot less dramatic.
And also breaks the circle of stress, because when somebody is obese, feels bad, and also the psychological effects, I think. It's a vicious circle that breaks.
Yeah. So I started recommending that. So if that's a good clinical message for people who haven't heard about this medication. What this medication does, it actually suppresses the hunger hormone, leptin, suppresses it, and people just they eat a lot less. Okay, it restricts the calorie intake. It's a very good drug. I recommend to, like, if you see fibromyalgia patients who are overweight, it's a must recommendation.
Good, very good. So I have another question for you. There is a quote called centrally maintained pain.
Yeah,
How do you understand that? What is your opinion about this? How you define, or not define, but what do you think about this quote, centrally maintained pain?
Well, pain cannot be centrally. I would agree with this sentence if we would have said centrally maintained nociception, okay?
Okay, very good.
Yeah, because pain is the word we use for when we consciously experience sensations that we do not like.
Yeah.
Okay, so pain is the experience.
Is the answer also, isn't it?
What?
It's the answer to certain inputs.
It's not the answer as it is the awareness that there are inputs. Okay, pain is the experience, and it's also defined by the IASP as an unpleasant experience. Okay, yeah. Unpleasant somatic experience. So we have to distinguish between pain and nociception. That's important, because nociception can be maintained well centrally, but then again, what is centrally? Like
brain mechanisms.
Spinal cord is also central. Okay. Yeah. So I don't really like that central peripheral division when it comes to nociception, because as I see it, nociception is a whole organism response. Okay. So, but if you want to understand it as in centrally maintained, then okay, yeah, nociception can be centrally maintained, okay, through molecular mechanisms. We don't
cognitive
need
too.
What?
Could it be cognitive mechanisms too? Like stress, like catastrophizing, like focusing on pain.
Now, that's a tricky one, and I would say no.
Okay.
Okay, I would say no, because
no to what?
No to no, like those things cannot they cannot help it. They cannot maintain nociception. Nociception is a biological and physiological process that can be, well, it is also, as I said, it is a physiological process, okay? Sometimes when we have nociception, that's a good response. We want to have nociception, okay?
Yes, it's a protective mechanism initially.
Yeah, it's a protective mechanism, and it's a physiological mechanism, and we want it, it's good, okay? Yep. But when it's ongoing, then it becomes a problem.
Malfunctional or maladaptive.
Maladaptive, or yeah, the nociception. Again, pain is totally unrelated to this now, okay? So, and we now know that it's also very stubborn, it's a very stubborn process, okay? It's very hard to disrupt nociception. And once it starts going, it doesn't need that much to be maintained. So once, and then again, what maintains it, we're starting to understand what maintains it are basically like automatic epigenetic epigenetic mechanisms that just kind of maintain this process going. So not really. Like those stressors and basically psychological stress can activate what my colleagues and I are now working on conceptualizing this idea, what we call the nociceptive apparatus, okay? It's more than a system. It's not really a system, okay? It's not like some people call it the nociceptive system, which is okay, but we tend to think that it's much better to address it as an apparatus. Like we have an apparatus for smell, for tastes, for
hearing,
okay? We have an apparatus that has been reserved by evolution for the detection of noxious stimuli and also to encode homeostatic states that are not beneficial for the organism. Okay.
Yep.
It's not just external stimuli. It's also homeostatic states that are not beneficial. And this apparatus is actually one of the earliest apparatuses in evolution. Okay. It was there before our brain. Our brain.
How you can define that? What do you mean it was there before our brain?
Okay. Like if you look at the early life forms, they had a very basic nervous system. They didn't have a brain, but they had like spinal cords and, you know, like some, like the earliest life forms only had like bundles of nerves, okay?
Yep.
But it was just a nervous system. It was not a brain. The brain in evolution is a much later addition.
Okay.
And the way we see it, the way me and my colleagues see it is like the brain has been superimposed on that apparatus and not the other way around, okay?
Okay.
The brain is there to support the activity of the apparatus. It is not there to control the apparatus. It cannot do that. The brain was not, like, by evolution, was not meant for the controlling of this apparatus. This apparatus is kind of, if you want to see it, it's kind of autonomic. It's like our reflexes are reflexes. They're not conscious. They're not volitional. We don't like when you put the reflex hammer, like it's it's non-volitional response.
I have a question there. If we think about in terms of the evolution, all the organisms that have the nervous system without the brain are probably different than human beings because we are designed in a way to have a free will. So you need a brain to develop your free will, to be vegetarian, not to be vegetarian, to like spicy, not spicy, to like running or not running. I mean, the brain is there to determine and to guide the freedom of choice, probably, I think.
I disagree with that. That's a totally different philosophical debate about free will, but I don't think that we have free will. We do not.
No, not at all.
Okay, and for example, chronic pain states are excellent indicators that we don't have free will. Yeah.
Well, maybe not in everything.
In many things we don't have free will.
I know.
Like free will is more of an illusion, but then again, like a lot of people will with chronic pain will testify that they don't have they don't have a free will and they don't feel like they're in control of this
of the pain, you mean?
Of the pain they have and experience. Okay, so I do not accept that centrally maintained pain that, or like the brain can like maintain pain just by like thought and stuff like that. Like the evidence for that is almost non-existent. And the evidence that supposedly support this is of very low quality. So I'm not there. I do not buy that. I used to, like, again, I had a lot of ups and downs in my education. And yeah, I used to think that it was possible to have like what some people call psychological pain, but I'm not convinced of that anymore.
couldn't these mechanisms coexist? For example, many years ago in discussions with Mark Zussman, there was the notion or the quote, or call it whatever you like, that if you focus on pain, so we see that people that have a lot of pain, what we call chronic pain patients or problematic pain patients, they have the tendency to focus all the time on their pain. And I have been in pain states in my life. I had pain in various areas of my body. So, for example, for me, as a physiotherapist, I knew where was my pain. I was thinking, how did this happen to me? I was continuing my life, and then sometime later, the pain went away. But what I see with patients is that very often people focus on pain, they are fixed and stuck on there. And when they tell you that something takes their mind away, for example, I remember many years ago, a patient who told me he had a very, very bad pain. He was operated with no reason. They had bad operations. And he told me that the other day I was working in my village, having my pain. And suddenly I felt a dog behind me. And when I realized that the dog was there, I stopped having pain. Or I remember another doctor, a cardiologist, who told me that, who was telling me he had trigger points and he was to press on the trigger points and that was okay. He had all day pain except the time that he was in his medical office treating patients.
Yeah, well, this is a very good demonstration of what we call descending inhibition, descending nociceptive inhibition. Some people call it descending pain modulation. Again, it's not, there is no pain, like the pain is the experience. Like what happens is that, we can, like the brain does have like its descending pathways that psychology can influence on ongoing nociception, but unfortunately, it cannot be maintained on the long run. It's usually very short-termed, and like sometimes short-term can be even 3-4 days. And I think that this stands for most of the effects of manual therapy. Like if you have a very good effect, like someone tells you, oh, I feel like pain-free for 4 days. Again, it's because of those descending inhibition effect. Like the brain does have its ability to affect it, but then again, like if you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, evolution is the process itself does not care about the welfare of the organism. It's only about survival. Okay. Yeah. So welfare is totally unimportant. Like having pain-free life, from an evolutionary standpoint perspective, that's absolutely not necessary. We need to procreate and have a lot of offsprings, and that's it. So evolution equipped us with apparatuses for those purposes and those purposes alone. But evolution, like again, like those descending pathways are there because they have benefited us from like bad situations, like being predated by like I don't know, like a lion. So like, for example, you perceive there is a lion over there, and you just injured your ankle and you need to run. So the brain was equipped with some sort of a short-term inhibitory mechanism, but it's not a good long-term mechanism because, again, evolutionary, it's not necessary.
Yeah, you have a point there. So, what's your opinion about, for example, you have patients that you see that they have the tendency to focus on their pain all the time, okay? So what I try to do with some people, it's only clinical experience there, it's not evidence that I have done a systematic way. But when I see people like this and I tell them, okay, have you noticed that there is a mechanism, like a loop that you always focus there, and when you focus, your symptom is increasing. I give them an example. Imagine that you are living in a building with a lot of traffic, and a friend of yours who lives in the countryside with no traffic at all comes and visits you. So he tells you, oh, how you can live in this street that has so many cars? And you say, I don't pay attention, because for me, this is noise. So I don't care about that. So my brain has extinct, that's extinction. So my advice to them is try to not to focus on that. So continue your life, do your things, do your business, do your training, but don't always come back and focus there. What do you think about as a strategy of dealing with kinds of pain like that?
It's very difficult.
I know.
It's very difficult to do what you're asking them to do. It's very difficult.
I know. It's not for everyone. I'm sure about that.
It's a very difficult thing to do. It's like why do people not lose weight? Like they're not losing weight because it's very difficult to change the way you behave, and it's very difficult to change lifestyle and to change psychological modus operandi. You know, like it's very difficult to do that.
That's why we need to have a multi-directional approach in this patient.
Yeah, but unfortunately, in many of those pain states, again, like eventually, it's not psychology; it's biology.
I know, and there's a problem.
And that's the problem. Like you can see that, like if you look at all those systematic reviews and meta-analyses of CBT, ACT, mindfulness for alleviating pain and chronic pain, it's not that great. Yeah. Okay, because why isn't it that great? Because again, most of the pain states are biological, and it's very difficult to not think about it all the time. It's very difficult to so again, I see that the future is going towards biology. Like there's this trend of like stamping and like and denouncing the biomedical model of disease, but it's inevitable where we have to go back to it.